5 minutes early. Good job, Amy. Thank you. You finally listened to all my whining. But like, yeah, this has nothing. I don't know. Brooke, get to work so I can bitch at you.
Regular time coming in, she'll probably be here in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah. So I just want to get this shit done because as soon as the board meeting is over, I'm going home and playing video games, so I gotta go to Havasu. I have so many fucking extra hours right now. I'm gonna try to get all this posting bullshit out the way during the board meeting. Because I'm at like 3 night events, 3 night classes. I got so many extra hours right now. I'm like, nah, fuck this place.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, David did. Yeah, right.
The Bible, be fruitful and multiply. Dollar General, who are we to disobey the Lord?
You ain't wrong, but damn.
Mackenzie says there were so many fucked up people that walked away from drugs.
Well, they were all hoping there'd be drugs.
You know, people were leaving their drugs here and walking away from them, and we picked them up.
Hello? Can...
Good morning. I just wanted to test my audio.
Fucking stupid.
So while we were there.
I can't hear you.
I was going to say.
I can hear you. Thank you.
And I'm like, oh, I think we're looking at 9 o'clock. Please join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Curly, roll call. Here.
Ashley Pascal,
Here.
Diane Singer, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Ashley, you're going to read the audience and any citizen for us, please.
Yes, this is the time for the public to comment. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Citizens wishing to comment will be limited to one opportunity to speak, and the president of the board may limit the time for individual presentations and the total time for all presentations.
Thank you very much. We'll pull the campuses. Mr. Cooper.
Good morning, Madam President. Welcome to the Bullhead City campus. We are honored to have be hosting you today. And as you can see from outside the door, we are also hosting our annual Pumpkin Fest this evening. So we're expecting an additional 1,200 guests later today, arriving in all of their Halloween best. So thank you for being here. There is no public present today for public comments.
Thank you. Thank you for doing such a wonderful job throughout the campus. I know that Pumpkin Fest is eagerly awaited by all the children in the community.
Yes.
I see Terry nodding her head. We know very well. Thank you. All right, let's go up to North. Where are you, North? One of those postage stamps on my screen. Carolyn, there you are. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi. Madam President, there are no citizens who wish to address the board at this time.
All right, thank you. You sound a little hoarse. I hope you feel well. Kingman?
Good morning, Madam President, members of the board. There are no citizens that wish to address the board at this time.
All right, thanks so much. And Lake Havasu, please.
Good morning, Madam President and members of the board. We do not have any members of the community to address the board today, but we will have 2,500 students and children and community members at our Pumpkin Fest today.
Do I hear some competition?
I'm going to have my clicker. So I'll be clicking as I walk around.
Don't find anybody twice, Dr. Adams. Thank you very much, all of you, for doing that wonderful community event. Thanks. All right, today we're fortunate enough to have a special presentation from the Community College Foundation. Carrie Tomlinson and her group, and she'll introduce them.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've got a PowerPoint to go along with this.
Of course.
Patrick, can you drive for us? I'm going to go fast because the important part is getting these fine people to speak. For anybody who's not familiar, the Mohave Community College Foundation is a single organization, a nonprofit corporation that serves the same large geographic area that the college does. One board, 4 chapter councils located at each of the campus locations, 2 college staff members, and a single mission. One slide in, I think. There we go, one more. There it is. And it's a simple mission. It really is to support the college, the students, the faculty and staff, and the programs. And we've spent quite a bit of time this year just talking to our chapters and our volunteers to remind us to stay on point with the mission. Next slide, please. Oh, I forgot about that slide. There's our meeting schedule. Next slide, please. We're glad to introduce some really important volunteers and leaders in our organization today. I'll let each of them introduce themselves, but there's going to be a little quiz afterwards. I'd like to describe 3 personality types, and at the end of this presentation, see if you can decide who I'm talking about. So we have one person that I would describe as the matriarch of the organization, a strong sense of future vision, strongly organized, always leads with a sense of caring and compassion, but a willingness to be tough when necessary. Another person would frequently sit fairly quietly in meetings, but is at every event getting hands dirty, and when something needs to be said, will speak up with the ability to think really critically and well. Another person is a dynamo that there's something happening all the time, and together these 3 people do just a wonderful job of providing a really balanced kind of leadership. And I'll let you guess who that is. And Brandy Swanner is the newest officer to be elected to the board. She was unable to join us today, but she's been a wonderful addition to the group. Next slide, please. And now you can see each of the chapters elects a chair and a board representative. In some cases, they are one and the same. Kim Pritchard, who happens to be Heather's sister, is not only the Bullhead City Chapter Council Chair, but she is also selected as the representative on the board. Janine Ramirez in Lake Havasu is serving the same way. Brandy was elected to be the board rep, but then she got elected as an officer, which now vacated that position. So we're still trying to find a person to be the board representative. And the North Chapter is getting reorganized after a period of inactivity, and hopefully we'll have a representative shortly. I think we're on to the important part now. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go again. Okay, turning it over. That's enough for me.
I'm Ellen Brown. I've been on the board for less than a year now, but I'm really enjoying it. I've been in the community for 45 years, worked at Mohave Electric for 43 years. So familiar with the community and what the college, I got my degree here at the college. So enough about me. One of the problems that the foundation has had since the inception is how do we meet our basic everyday financial needs? Most of the money that we get is earmarked for something specific. So we're pleased to announce that we have established a $1 million endowed fund. And during, good years, that should be able to generate enough funds to be able to keep, our everyday expenses, our everyday cost of operation covered. We're also pleased to announce that we've been able to award over $300,000 in scholarships in this past year.
All right, I guess it's my turn. Good morning. Thank you guys for allowing us to be here today. My name is Heather Holmes and I'm the Foundation Vice Chair and an active member of the Bullhead City Chapter. Often I'm asked why I do what I do for the foundation. And my answer is always because of my mother. For you that don't know, my mom was Louise Zaborski. She joined the local Bullhead City Chapter in 1999. For many years, she served the both local chapter and the board as a leader until she passed in 2021. She consistently served as treasurer, usually for both levels of the organization, and she also filled the chair role many times. In those early days, the treasurer burden, the financial record keeper, was extremely heavy. And as Sean always said, my mom filled the role with gusto and grace. She was a strong advocate for anything that might make students' lives better, and she was unafraid to use her voice to make things that she thought were right happen. She was a strong advocate for anything that might make students' lives better, and she was unafraid to use her voice to make sure that the right things happen. Sean reminded me recently that my mom had a unique and wonderful positive way of demonstrating love for those around her, even in the midst of a hotly contested issue that they were discussing. Sean would go home with lipstick on his cheek many times after a show committee or chapter meeting. She was a mother figure to not only Sean, but to all. Carrie Faring, a prominent businesswoman in our community, shared a little thing with me recently. So she said, in life, we are always looking to people that we want to be like, people that have integrity, ambition, passion, and willingness to make their community a better place. Louise was all of that and more to me. I was young and just entered the workforce after graduating UNLV when I met Louise. MCC Foundation was the first board that I joined. I picked that organization because Mohave Community College gave me a great opportunity in life when I received my associate's degree there, and I wanted to give back to them in so many ways. I was very young and not too many people gave me the time of day, but Louise saw potential in me. She believed in me when no one did. After being on the foundation for a year, she gave me the opportunity to chair the Christmas Gala, which, if you know the history of that event, and we'll talk more about that later. Louise, and Louise, this was a huge compliment that I was given. She stood by my side and showed me the way. She helped guide me through it, and it was a huge success. While my time with the MCC Foundation was short, the knowledge and passion that was instilled in me has carried with me all these years later. I carry a piece of Louise with everything I do. She loved the community, she loved to volunteer, and she loved to watch the younger generation take a bigger role in things. She believed that new blood was a good thing, and she welcomed new ideas and was always open-minded. She saw the best in people and knew that sometimes people just needed a little guidance to do the right thing. I wish the world had more Louises in it because we would be far better off. I miss my sweet friend every day. I miss the way she could light up a room by smiling. And I miss going in and telling her all about my accomplishments. But I know she's up there so proud and that she has a part in this community leader that I have become today. If I can tell you one thing that I took away from my years of knowing Louise, it would be to believe in people, find their strengths and nurture them. And remember that you have the opportunity to shape a life by the impact and empathy you show people. Never judge a book by its cover. Always believe in the potential of others and see the good that they can do. Louise saw something in me and took a chance on me, and I will forever be grateful for that. So when people ask me why I've joined the foundation and why it's important for me to help it succeed, it's because of people like Sean and Carrie. We foundation members can make a difference. We are making a difference. Foundation board members are relieved to see higher levels of chapter activity and volunteerism. The pandemic impacted most service organizations negatively, and the MCC Foundation was no exception. We'll share some plans in just a little while, but I'd like to explain in the last item on the slide. The foundation was formally reorganized in 2018-19, and prior to the pandemic, under the leadership of Executive Director Carrie Kelly and the MCCF Board Chair Artie Luxman. A significant change in staff and board members immediately following the change resulted in widespread misunderstanding and internal conflict. That conflict was about how the foundation was organized, who had fiduciary responsibilities, and the relative roles of the board and chapters. In 2020-21, the board approved a complete redraft of organizational bylaws with the guidance of legal counsel. I am pleased to announce that we appear to have achieved shared understanding of how our organization operates. Speaking on behalf of the current board, we all acknowledge that there is only one MCC Foundation with one board of directors, one purpose, and one mission. We support the college, its program, all the students and employees, in all MCC locations. Thank you.
Shit, he did leave. Not Sanji. He took me to a dope Mexican.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for allowing us to share some of your time. I was listening to Heather and I realized we have come a long way. And I think of all the things that we've accomplished, and I think Ellen mentioned the $1 million endowment. That gives me chills when I think about that huge accomplishment. And it was scary to vote that in. I have to admit, I had a bit of nerves about it, but I'm so happy that we did it because it builds the foundation for the future. So I'm very excited to be part of the foundation. I'm passionate about education. We have gone through quite a bit of morph and change. And I believe, and simply put, that we have all the right people on the bus, and they're even sitting in the right seats. And I'm so excited to work with these folks. They excite me, they inspire me, they keep us focused on the mission, and we still have our lively conversations, and we have created an environment that we can share our disagreements, and we work through them, and we all focus on the mission, and that is to support the college. So I want to thank you so much for allowing us to come and share a little bit about what we've been up to. It is truly an honor to be part of the organization. Thank you.
I'd surely like to say thank all three of you, and I know which personality is which because I know all of you. But I have to say you all are each other also, because whatever the reason, you're all passionate about this mission and you're passionate about the way you live your lives. And you contribute so much. So when you say thank you for your time, we would like to say thank you for your time very much. Thank you.
This is you.
No,
no,
it's not.
No.
Oh.
Oh. Look, I just happen to have that assigned to me. So, I'm so sorry. Upcoming 23-24 activities are the Bighorn Trek, our Pumpkin Fest, yay, that's happening right now. And MCC Shines. We're very excited about these events. And I want to kind of tell you a little bit. When we were looking at the budget this year, we did something really different with it. I understand as a nonprofit, there is a cost to do business. And I wanted to share that with the rest of the board because some of these things are the cost of doing business. They're not necessarily fundraisers. They're not an event that, you know, we're going out looking for donors. They're events for the community to appreciate what MCC is and how the foundation supports. So we did change our budget a little bit by building in expenses to help with some of the community events, not necessarily fundraisers. So I'm proud of that because I don't think it's ever been done before. And I'm proud that the board was agreeable to that. And we're working with our chapter levels on kind of a different scenario as well. That's never been done before. A lot of things have never been done before. So we're kind of stepping in gray waters a little bit, but I think the motivation for the board is that we want to be able to raise money to support scholarships, support the college. And so when we are planning fundraising events,
so here's the thing with the polos and the shirts. No, I saw he emailed us this morning about the crushed email that was written by Gareth, but I did not read it. Now, okay, so I guess. Yeah, that's that's what I put in Podio.
Yeah. So.
Why are my Thunderbolt boards not getting power?
Black polos always triple branded shirts, colors change as we want. But the black polos always. For some reason, there's something in my head about changing the color of the embroidery.
So the reason you're thinking that is because traditionally I think the red has had a black logo, and I think he off the cuff was like, well, it would need to be white, and I was like, well, it's been black. I was like, was that black? And he goes, no.
So the black polos.
The black polos are fine.
We're keeping that.
Well, that was essentially the cadence of the argument. I didn't understand.
I can just reorder it.
Yeah. So the black ones are fine. Long story short.
Black ones are fine. Then that's an easy reorder. Okay.
Okay. So let me tell you, so you have a better background here. What I was gonna do versus I don't know what
show in the gala that year, the choir instantly became the most consistently successful fundraising mechanism for the MCC Foundation. In spring of 2022, after a 5-year hiatus, we brought back the Voices of the River Community Choir and never looked back. The Christmas Gala was a great success last year, and we are expecting great things this year as our guests enjoy being an armchair traveler at the night of the gala. No hassle with airline terminals or TSA lines when Voices of the River takes you to Europe, the British Isles, South America, and across our nation in a festival of holiday songs and classical Christmas carol medleys. Voices of the River is made up of community singers across the tri-state county region who help spread love, courage, perseverance, and humor with every show they perform. We owe the success of the Christmas Gala and Spring Show to these individuals who dedicate countless hours rehearsing, and to Sean. This year is no different, and a night at the gala will be one to remember. Our committee this year made up of Terry Tomlinson, Barbara Zarzyski, Peggy Boone, Ellen Brown, Kim Pritchard, Sean Bristol, and myself would like to invite you to attend one of our 2 shows, Wednesday, December 6th and Thursday, December 7th. Doors open at 6 and show starts at 7 p.m. Tickets are $20 per person, $5 for children under 12. You won't want to miss this year's gala of the yummy treats being prepared by the students and faculty right here at the MCC Culinary Department. So thank you very much. We hope that you guys can join us.
So we have a lot of other activities coming up after the gala. The next large fundraising event will be the Inspiration Around the World. That's the Lake Havasu chapter will be doing that at Chagru's in February 2024. that is an event that celebrates the life of an amazing MCC alumnus, Christian Sweeney, who was died from cancer early in his life. And the proceeds for this go to the Christian Sweeney Memorial Fund. A donor appreciation event is kind of in the works. There'll be more on that coming later. The Lake Havasu chapter is also holding a staff and faculty appreciation brunch in December. And then the Bullhead chapter will be holding the second annual Colorado River Food Truck Frenzy on April 13th at Community Park in Bullhead City. Last year was our first year trying this. It was Heather's idea, and it was a brilliant idea, and it was very well received in the community. We have lots of food trucks, as many as we can get out there, but it's a family event. We have, the bounce houses and stuff for the kids. We have a beer garden, we have vendor booths, and lots of food and live entertainment. So it's a really fun day. So mark your calendars for April 13th. It'll be a real fun, good event for us.
Squash is still a couple weeks out.
Getting long, so I will just tell you, we talked last year a little bit about the strategic plan and the strategic goals that the foundation board put into place, designed specifically to mesh with the strategic goals of the college. Those are still in place. The staffing changes have changed some of our timetables and some of our approaches to them, but we still seek to tell our story, to expand our volunteer community, to make a difference by focusing on the possibilities of future people and inspiring the next generation. And we are still motivated by the donor experience that serves similar to the student experience statement at the college. But we know that our work is only possible through the generosity and philanthropy of others. And with that, I think there's one more slide. No, that's it. That's it.
Thank you. Again, on behalf of everyone in our communities, not just Bullhead, of course, but all the communities, and on behalf of everyone that supports the college, we appreciate each of you and all of you that come to help. So thank you very much. And thanks for sharing your story with us.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Did you figure out, by the way, who was who?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Ella and I've talked to on the phone more than once in the last 44 years with From the Heart. I was with From the Heart for so long, but I never saw her in person. So this is nice to now put a face with the name.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
You can't get away from me, that's for sure.
No.
Love you. Mother would be so proud.
Thank you.
All right. Consent agenda, appendix 2. Ashley, I see there you are too, so we can all three see the consent agenda, or were there any changes to the minutes or anything else you want to take off the consent agenda? If not, I'll welcome a motion. Diane has moved that we adopt the consent agenda.
I second.
Yes, you do, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
0, thank you. Susan wasn't going to Zoom with us today, then I forgot to ask that.
No.
Okay, I just realized I didn't ask. Thank you. All right, Dr. Kuzma, Robert, are you ready to speak with us?
Yes, would you like me back there?
Wherever you are. I think we can hear you from it, but the rest of the campuses maybe can't. I was going to call you Dr. K, but then I remembered that would be Stacy, so I have to be careful. Dr. Kuzma, welcome.
Yes, as I told some people in the past, don't call me Mr. Kuzma. That's my father's name. Call me.
And I bet he's proud of you, isn't he?
Okay, so it is once again my pleasure to address the board as the faculty council president. I know Candace, our vice president, was very pleased to be able to address you at the previous meeting in person up north. We do not have a large number of items to address because fortunately we've been able to get a lot of items addressed at a lower level, so we don't have to make big giant motions for everything. Faculty is looking forward to being able to see the HLC report, which we understand is being released soon, if not already. At our last meeting, we had multiple major items presented by the administration, all of which were received fairly well, and we are looking forward to our ability to implement, as well as our increased ability to participate in several of these items as we were increasingly asked for participation as well in items from program review to our car reports to even the institutional effectiveness work. And that is all I have to report at this time.
Thank you, Robert. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you teach and your program?
Okay, so I just got my 10-year pin this year, though I was adjunct for the faculty or adjunct faculty for a little bit longer. I am in the math department. I've been lead faculty as well as when we started our transitional program, I was one of the ones who had to help take the lead for that. Technically, I believe I am, depending on how you rate our engineering faculty, I am tied or third ranking or third senior most member of the math faculty. I did get my doctorate in higher educational leadership right before COVID hit, making my choice to not attend graduation prophetic instead of just not wanting to fly over to St. Paul. And so.
Wonderful. We're glad you're with us and that you have been with us for so long. Thank you.
Yes, and I am very happy to be able to represent the faculty as their president on the council.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim, I think you're going to zoom in with us somewhere. Kim Hiller? Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Much like Robert, we don't have a lot to present to the board today, but I do have a few items. We are referring a couple of things to the EAC, the Executive Advisory Council. One of those items is going to be the request for web access for MCC students to overseas websites. And I believe that there is currently work being done with instruction on this item. The next one is going to be a reevaluation of PTO sick leave donation, which we have also referred to the employee compensation team. The next item is going to be the student work study application, which we are working with financial aid on. We're trying to streamline that process. Dr. Rousseau is very much involved in that process, so we're going to be working on that. Let's see. Oh, we did send out a survey to all staff about All Staff Day. We're getting a lot of responses on that, so we will be presenting what we find to the Executive Advisory Council again next week, and hopefully we'll have some information for you about those items at the next board meeting. And also, like Robert or Dr. Kuzma, a lot of our items have been addressed at the lower levels. We referred a few items to Campus CCCs, which is the Communication Council. And we're just working on a lot of the requests and issues for our staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you also share with us a little bit about yourself and your responsibilities at MCC?
Sure. So my new title is Operations Coordinator for the Student and Community Engagement Team. I work directly with Dr. Rousseau and mostly handle community events. I handle a lot of community engagement and working with a lot of our partners for Bighorn Trek, Pumpkin Fest. Of course, our Pumpkin Fest is next week. And I don't mean to brag or anything, but we had 3,500 people last year. So, and basically day to day, I'm a problem solver. So that's what I do.
Thank you, Kim. How long have you been with the college, please?
Just about 2.5 years.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you. And I know Tremaine must be also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going over to board reports. Ashley, you're going to share a little bit about the ACCT?
Yes. So we all know we were at the ACCT. No, I don't know. The Leadership Congress. Did I get the acronyms right? Just last week, and so I believe we'll be debriefing more about that at a future meeting. And in Susan's absence, I was asked to provide an update on a couple meetings which I was not present at, but I'm just going to look over here to my other screen and share. The both the groups with the trustees as well as the college presidents have developed a draft strategic plan of focus areas for the next 2 years. And there are 4 areas of focus. They include innovation and technology, workforce development, high quality education, and industry partnerships. So that draft strategic plan is in stages of review. And then additionally, we at the conference last week, we received a draft of a one-pager that is meant to be kind of a marketing flyer for all community colleges in the state. And that is going through some revisions and will be provided later as well. I think that's about it, unless President Klippenstein has additional information. I'm sure you'll be sharing the pieces that I missed.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, what I'll do is in my report, I'll just share a little bit more about where we're at with the one pager that she referenced. James Jarman has been in the middle of some of that development as well. So yeah, I'll provide a little bit of it.
It's going to remain a one pager though, we're not going.
Oh, no, it'll be 15 pages probably by the time it's done. Who knows?
Ashley made reference to those attending the conferences coming forth in November, and Susan will facilitate that little mini workshop. We've been trying to have a mini workshop every month with board conversation, and Susan will facilitate it, and you will receive after this meeting quick draft board members of what would be anticipated from each of you to participate. So we'll be doing that in November during the board meeting. Thank you all very much. All right, first reading of policy recommendations. Those are in Appendix 3, and I don't have a voice, of course, today, as you can tell. And so I would like to ask if maybe either Diane or Ashley would like to read those. Would you be willing, or can you see my screen? That's kind of putting you on the spot. I started to ask you earlier, and then we got into the other thing. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you. I think they're right here in your.
Oh, they're here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Oh, okay, I thought we were looking at something on a document. Okay, so
right.
Recommended revision for policy to encompass all educational programs, specifically baccalaureate and non-credit programming, vetted by the Policy and Procedure Committee on 8/24/2023 and moved forward unanimously by the President's Cabinet on 9/19/2023.
This is the time for the public to comment. Members of the
item
board
A.
may not discuss.
Should I continue with B?
Arriving.
Item B,
all of their
honorary
Halloween
recognitions.
best, so.
Recommended revision for
Students
policy.
and children and community members at our Pumpkin Fest today.
To MC or
I was
less
gonna say, do I hear some
than 15
competition?
years plus significant contributions through a nomination process. Vetted by the Policy and Procedure Committee on 8/24/2023 and moved forward without objection
faculty,
by
and
the
staff.
President's Cabinet on
End of this presentation.
9/19/2023. Item C, housing programs. Recommended new policy to facilitate significant procedural additions previously slated for 4.115 non-academic services.
We have
Vetted by the
created
Policy and Procedure
an
Committee
environment that
on
we can share.
9/28/2023 and moved forward unanimously by the President's Cabinet on 10/3/2023.
And I want to kind
Thank you
of
so
tell
much.
you a little
This is the
bit
first reading. The full policies
to
are in the
appreciate
appendix.
what MCC
Appendix 3 is
is
noted,
and
so
how
the
the
board members, if you have any questions now, it's a good time to ask them. And if you don't, they'll come forward for a vote in November. Have any questions? No. Ashley, any questions? No, me neither. Three have no questions. So we'll put them on the agenda for November. Thank you so much. Dr. Kay, your turn.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you very much. I will first like to share and thank Dr. Kuzma as well as Kim for their continued leadership with faculty and staff council. I know I always try to recognize them at every meeting just because they take a lot of their own time to provide leadership, but they're also part of a little bit larger network with our Executive Advisory Council, the EAC. You probably heard that referenced a few times with Kim's report. And the EAC is made up of, if you're not familiar, is made up of representatives from faculty, staff councils, as well as our students. So we meet on probably 3 times a semester, roughly, sometimes twice a semester. Bethany Sear is our current chair of that committee. So items sometimes from faculty and staff council come to that, and then I'm with them, and we review and then bring recommendations that might go to policy and procedure, it might go somewhere else, but it's a shared governance model that has proven to work pretty well. So I really do appreciate the work that they all do along with Bethany and with the EAC councils. And we also have the employee comp team, which was, they referenced materials going to. So shared governance wise, I feel very, very good about where we're at with that. So I just wanted to say thank you to them and their leadership. Moving forward, we do have some number of items here under the president's report, and we'll start off as always with Mohave Minute.
Oh.
1, 2, 3. First up, history is made with the groundbreaking for Northwestern Arizona's first on-campus student housing. Many community leaders, including the current and former mayors of Bullhead City, were there to celebrate this historic moment. The 60-plus bed housing complex will be completed next summer, ready for students attending fall semester 2024. And community leaders from throughout the MCC district are part of the College Campus Advisory Councils. They're meeting this month with college administrators to get an update on what's happening at MCC and, perhaps more importantly, provide valuable feedback from the communities. Congratulations to the students who completed the Emergency Medical Services Paramedic Program. The 5 graduates were celebrated at this pinning ceremony with family, friends, instructors, and representatives from the Lake Havasu City Fire Department. For more information on the EMS Paramedic Program, head online to mohave.edu. Then, in the middle of the homepage, click Health and Public Services. Then, click Emergency Medical Services. And speaking of EMS, the College Health and Public Services Division partnered with local agencies for Healthcare Simulation Week. We caught up with them for this emergency labor delivery training, utilizing one of the college computerized sim patients. MCC partnered with Kingman Regional Medical Center, Kingman Fire, Northern Arizona Fire, and Wallapai Mountain Fire for this training series. The Kingman campus Fall Semester Spirit Week was full of fun activities and a chance for students to check out all the clubs and services on campus. There were many events, including donuts with Dr. Klippenstein, a stitch and crochet night, movie night with Mascot Blaze at Brendan Theaters, and step aerobics with women's team soccer coach Cynthia Cervantes. 5th graders from Mohave Accelerated Learning Center recently toured the Bullhead City campus. This is part of a larger college pilot program to introduce the importance of college to elementary students. The students visited many of the programs to see the wide variety of options, and the visit included the library, which is open to everyone in the community.
You can check out items from here, so if you want to have your parents bring you here sometime, you can more than welcome to get a library card and check out items.
If you'd like more information about the 5th grade pilot project, send an email to mcc@mohave.edu. The Lake Havasu City campus held several events to help highlight Hispanic Heritage Month. It included traditional Mexican music performed by MCC student Pascual Santos. The campus also brought in bands and dancers to help share the culture. The Kingman Student Activities Council held a forum with Hispanic community members, including Havasu Campus Dean Dr. Maria Ione, to share their experiences on the path to career success. Mascot Blaze was a big hit with the kids at the Mohave County Fair. The college booth was once again a popular site for people to visit and learn about all the college programs and services to help improve people's lives. A few dozen employees volunteered their time to represent the college and share information with the community during the 4-day event.
1, 2, 3. Go Horns!
MCC employees and students had a great time representing the college at the 2023 Andy Divine Days Parade. The Emergency Medical Services ambulance was there, along with employees and students handing out candy. And Blaze never misses a parade and a chance to meet as many people as possible. In Peach Springs, the MCC Wallapai Business Center, known as Thrive Wallapai, was on hand to support community members who took part in a fun run and walk. This was all part of a week-long celebration of Wallapai sovereignty. Another packed house as the Bullhead City campus kicked off the spooky season with its second annual Paranormal Night. The Phoenix Paranormal Society gave a presentation that included different types of paranormal equipment they use and much more. The College Esports and Arts Club had a great time representing the college at the first annual Kingman Comic Con. Esports had games for attendees to play, and the Art Club had a Gotham City backdrop for people to take pictures. The third annual Bighorn Leadership Academy kicked off this fall semester. 21 MCC employees are in this year's academy, which will put them through a series of classes teaching them how to become successful leaders. Stay up to date on college news and events by following the College News and Events section at mohave.edu and all the college social media channels. If you have a story idea, send it to mcc@mohave.edu, and you could see it right here on the next newscast.
Hey, good Mohave. Team, a lot of activity going on, so we greatly appreciate that. My favorite part, if you caught it when Blaine was talking about you can check out books, that little kid, I was like, wow, that's awesome. So, Madam Chair, next on the agenda is the HLC accreditation update and report. So we have some wonderful people here today to provide you an overview of the recent report and approval from accreditation. And I'll kick it over to Danette.
No. Good morning. Our group is here to present the summary findings from the HLC report, as well as talk about what we're doing in the future. Warning you now, I built a very dense PowerPoint presentation. It's for your information. We're not going to talk about every single slide endlessly. So, all right, the basics. What you need to know is that it has been verified by our peer reviewers from HLC that we are progressing and continuously improving as an institution. We are compliant with all of the requirements of the criteria for accreditation and federal compliance. And they have not acknowledged in writing that our institution has gone through tremendous transformation and change in the last few years. And it was documented, that new leadership, new buildings, all those things. So the basics, criteria, we met with concerns, 2 criteria that we'll talk, no, 2 subcomponents, to use the right words, 2 subcomponents that we will be monitoring and reporting on, but all of them were met. There are no sanctions in our future. We plan to keep it that way. We were eligible, I say we were eligible to choose our pathways, the standard pathway and the open pathway. Through dialogue in the institution, we have selected the open pathway, which will be a new challenge for MCC. We haven't been on this pathway before. So, and then federal compliance I talked about already. Next. The open pathway, I built the timeline already because that's how I do things. So we'll talk about that in the future, but the timeline's up there for you so you can see where we're going in the next 10 years. Next. Criteria 1, they acknowledged that we live our mission. We articulate our mission. We operationalize our mission. Our people can talk endlessly about what we do here. Mission, vision, values, we are there. Our strategic goals are ambitious and we do them. We're working on them. And our students and employees appreciate what's going on at our institution. So we had very positive feedback from employees. Recommendations, they're relatively superficial. One of the things that they pointed out is that we don't have signs everywhere that say the mission, which is not when peer reviewers go out. Usually at schools, there are signs everywhere. We live our mission, but they recommended putting up signs. They recommended continuing our strategic plan, which of course we're doing, and a syllabus review process that might have a diversity statement review and review of the policies there were a couple of inconsistencies. They pull syllabi randomly. Next. Criterion 2. They noted outstanding strength in the connection to our community. This was a big highlight throughout the whole visit. Our connectedness to the community and responding to community need was highlighted and important for them to see. Recommendations were that we work on our procedures for the curriculum committee, that we fix a technicality on our website, which was done the next day, and articulate that they wanted this, the students said they needed more tutoring, more advisor access, and more career services, all in the plan for the future. Next, please. 3, we demonstrate that we are committed to quality education. We have a strong sense of cooperation, and employee groups work well together here. Overall, they observed a culture that was positive and promotes a student-centeredness that they appreciated. The recommendation was to leverage the commitment and self-reflection to build a stronger program assessment process, which we will talk about in a minute. So criterion 4 was the first one that was met with concerns, just the subcomponent 4B. So as a whole, criterion 4, we have an ongoing commitment to the assessment of student learning and our core outcomes of courses. We are an evidence-based institution. There's going to be a however in a minute. And we pursue educational improvement and strategies to improve retention, persistence, completion, and we monitor student success through dashboards and other means. This is the however part. These are the recommendations for 4B that were outlined in the report and on the letter that HLC sent us. These are the expectations of the future, and we will be reporting on all of the things you see here. The team behind me is from the Center for Teaching and Learning, and they're going to define how we're addressing that, and they're going to introduce themselves in a minute. So this is dense. I put it there for you to read. Let's go on. And then 5, we also had met with concerns with 5C, which overall meant the same thing as 4B, which is improve your assessment and evaluation processes, be able to articulate it. 5C was focused on co-curricular activities and our institutional effectiveness network's ability to evaluate itself. So it's a new thing at MCC to have the institutional effectiveness network, and they were saying, evaluate your evaluation process.
Assess our assessment.
Assess your assessment. So we're on it. That's the basic rundown of what, see, I wanted you to see all the Mets. Next. So monitoring for 4B, that was all of the program assessment stuff, defining outcomes, building key assessment alignment, all of those things that Andrea is going to talk about in a minute. We will be reporting on that by June 30th, 2025. And I'm happy to tell you that we already have an outline for our response because we've already been working on these things that they warned us about last June.
Yeah, but took you so long.
And then 5C, similarly, the plan is in place. 5C is reported on at our next HLC assurance argument. I was going to say visit, but they're not new pathway. They're not going to visit in 4 years. In our next assurance argument in 4 years, we will embed a report about 5C and how we evaluated our evaluation and assessed our assessments. Next. So our response, the Center for Teaching and Learning and the academic deans have collaborated to come up with a plan for addressing all of the things. You saw the timeline for the assessment planning changes, enhancements. So it's a very short timeline. So we had to move quickly. So first you will meet the Director of Curriculum and Assessment.
Hi, I'm Andrea Wang, and Danette Bristol shared with you that I am the Director of Curriculum and Assessment. And so what you see on the screen are 3 key areas that address the 5 concerns that were brought up with HLC's report on 4B. We're going to clarify our curriculum development process, identify and analyze those key assessments, assessing our assessments, and develop a cohesive assessment alignment. Next. So in clarifying that curriculum development process, specifically addresses development and implementation for formalized, systematic, and integrated processes. Through the report, we found that we had some inconsistencies in our documentation, and our current system for approval of curriculum has been very inconsistent and just inadequate for our institution. It lacks transparency and collaboration that we would like to see more of. And so we've addressed that with creating a SharePoint that actually timestamps and sees everyone who sees and contributes to that curriculum approval process. And that will be active January 24th, as we're already piloting it with a few of our programs that have shared curriculum changes already. Additionally, we have enhanced our forms. We have looked at what do we have for forms now, but how can we enhance them for more meaningful, valuable use by faculty and the assessment process. And so in those forms, we've identified how do we really align our program student learning outcomes with our course learning outcomes and objectives, and how do those assessments really lead back to that process. Additionally, the curriculum assessment report that Dr. Kuzma has shared that the faculty also did approval for, but the assessment committee approved and we're moving forward with, and how we use that in program review as well. Key assessments was one of our areas. Articulating that student learning outcomes, key assessments include those methods thresholds for success. Assessment is that assurance of evidence of student learning. And so we need to make sure that our assessments are assessing what we said that they are going to, what our students are going to learn. And so doing that, we really are working on identifying really concise, clear program outcomes and course outcomes, and what are those assessments that we should be using in each of those courses that tie back to saying that our students are mastering what they should in their programs. And then using something other than a final exam, the traditional test model. Let's really show a product of learning through alternative assessment methods. And then using those assessments and what we use in our reports to really drive curriculum changes. Which then leads us to the cohesive assessment alignment. Again, being able to talk the talk and walk the walk, right? And that we are able to, as an institution, talk about what our assessment process is, what our curriculum process is. And so through that, we are really working in curriculum mapping, student outcomes, program outcomes, course outcomes, key assessments. You're going to hear those words over and over. Our faculty are going to be able to talk about them over and over. The assessment committee has also charged with outlining the assessment process and timeline for what does that look like for each program, what does that look like institutionally. And then the Center for Teaching and Learning continually offering professional development to support our faculty and staff. And lastly, what you see here is really how we are institutionally internalizing this whole assessment process so that it is meaningful, it's manageable, it's sustainable. It becomes this whole culture of living in assessment for continuous improvement to meet the needs of our students and continue to change and grow with our workforce.
This is me. Thank you, Andrea.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you use backwards design?
Yes. Good. Yes, ma'am. That is the foundation of all of it.
Good. Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So co-curricular assessment was outlined as a gap that we have. We knew this as an institution. Co-curricular activities are ongoing at our institution, but we weren't developing them like academic programs and assessing them like academic programs. So last week, the co-curricular subcommittee met and started the process of truly defining what programs will be assessed, how we're going to assess them, the assessment method, and then how we're going to track those things. So co-curricular assessment fits into our institution through alignment, through our general education outcomes, and then the MCC mission, vision, and values. We created a manual because the people doing co-curricular assessment aren't necessarily faculty members who understand educational processes. They're usually student services people who might not have an education background. So we laid out the learning for them, laying the foundation so they understand the process, the cycle Andrea just described needs to apply to co-curricular activities too. Next slide, please. I think I just put a definition. Nope, I didn't. This is what we have done so far. We've defined what co-curricular is. We have put up guidance and tools for creating the assessments for co-curricular programming. We are creating rubrics right now. Some of them are already done. And at the meeting last week, we were defining the activities and key assessments that we are going to use for co-curricular activities. And the data process will align with the curricular things. So we're trying to create one vision, whether it's curricular, co-curricular, credit or non-credit, everything will be in the same vision pathway map. And the data will be collected and reviewed in very similar ways. Next.
All right.
The educational developers.
So I'm Mike Krasinski, education developer on our Center for Teaching and Learning, along with my colleague Abigail James Gomez. And one of our many roles is to provide professional development and support for faculty wherever they need or wherever we see fit. And in this context, our goal is to enhance that internal knowledge of how to write, implement, and assess student and course learning outcomes and aligning those with those key assessments that Andrea was mentioning. And so we looked at the different areas, those three areas that Andrea addressed or proposed, and looked at how we can send that message and provide faculty with that support to help them through that process of meeting those enhancements. And so we looked at Andrea, Abigail, and myself, developed and facilitated professional development opportunities starting on day one when faculty got back on campus in August, and continue and will continue to offer these professional developments throughout this year and through the next year during this process. And so we organized them, the different professional developments, and have some of them on screen for you. And starting with the developing the curriculum or clarifying curriculum development process, we talk about and look at developing outcomes and objectives and what it means to write an effective outcome and how to align that to your assessments, along with when faculty are building their course packages, ensuring that you have those outcomes and objectives there clearly, and going through that process that Andrea mentioned through ACRES and through the SharePoint and all that.
And then, as my colleague mentioned, my name is Abigail. As another educational developer on our team, we really focused on figuring out, okay, how much time and practice can we help provide faculty members to develop these skills? So we know that there's going to be a lot of identification of how do we diversify and create alternative assessments? What does that actually look like? How do we identify those key assessments? How do we make sure that those are aligned to the intended learning outcomes? And how we're measuring it is how we want them to be able to display those skills and dispositions as they go out from the classroom. So really making sure that the professional development is not just the how-to and the pedagogy, the theory, but also the pedagogy and the practice. We also are looking at helping our teams develop assessment plan templates or developing a template so they can develop their assessment plan and really have concrete organization and timelines of what to expect, what they're assessing, at which time, and how that really feeds into their from course to program.
And a big part of the developing cohesive alignment is being transparent and clear with students and stakeholders in the syllabus so that they can all see what are the outcomes that students are meant to learn, what are those learning objectives, how will those learning objectives be taught, and how will they be assessed on those learning objectives. And so we go through several sessions about syllabus design and course mapping and how to create those and display it in a learner-centered way, along with the more bigger picture, holistic, developing a map for the different programs. We also work a lot with our Canvas, our learning management system, and talk about how to align these outcomes and objectives in Canvas so that data can be pulled from that and can be used to aggregate and look over through those course assessment reports and to continue that enhancement of the courses through data and through looking at the outcomes assessments, along with talking about how to and what it means to complete a program review, both academic and non-academic areas.
And then, so I guess one of the challenges of providing professional development is that we have a large team of faculty that are at very different levels, at very different parts of their, their experience within academia and higher ed. We know that we are trying to really enhance our assessment culture, and that's going to be reinforced not just from monthly one-off sessions, but also just continuous series that help them get a comprehensive understanding of really what it means to shift and to inform your practices by building that data culture. But what that looks like by providing learning series that take them through the process of the backward design model that enhances your course design. But because we know our teams vary in terms of where they're at and the support that they'll need will differ, we are also really advocating and telling our peers that we are available for one-on-one consultations, because we want to make sure that we tailor the support and services exactly to where they are at. And we want to make sure we can enhance and maximize both their time and the changes that need to be made within now and the interim reporting. By the fall of 2024, we hope to also develop a faculty institute, which will really support new faculty as they start their role. Right now, we're trying to fill the professional development, but we want to make sure that we can start that day one in a more comprehensive way.
So this just lays out what we've told you, all of us have told you about what's happening this year and next year and how we'll be ready to fulfill our obligation for that report that's due in June of 2025. Question.
Thank you. Let's check with Ashley too about questions. I would like to thank all of you, of course. And I think this is a good indication of what we all have to remember, whether it's governance, administration, support staff. It's actually the faculty that is our institution, and the work that you and all of the faculty put into anything that goes into that classroom is what we all exist for as an institution. So we thank you and everybody you represent. Thank you. Ashley, do you have any questions?
I'm not sure if it's a question. I'm going to start maybe with a comment. Is that okay?
Please. I should have asked that. Do you have any comments, Ashley?
I want to thank the presenters and all of the teams you represent for the transparency you just demonstrated. I just appreciate, as a board member, understanding, well, it seems transparent, kind of where we can improve, and your seems like very thorough plans for doing just that. So I just want to thank you for that. And I guess that does lead me to a question. As you've just presented this to the board, can you tell me what I should be expecting, I guess, in terms of progress? Will we see and hear from you again on how things are going? And what kinds of questions would you expect us to have for you?
I would expect that you would want to see our ongoing progress, that as we build the monitoring report in spring 2025 semester, we will be developing in writing that final report. I'm sure that we will be sharing that with you. Informally, what you should see is enhancements in course documents. The programs that come to you are going to be mapped out much more thoroughly. So when you see a new program, it's going to have details in that plan. It's going to be mapped from outcome to outcome to key assessments. And then when you look for documents like program review, you're going to see more detailed information about how the cycle is completed. And they will be posted online. So it's public information. We put them on our public websites.
Does that address your concerns or your questions? Not concerns, but your ideas, Ashley?
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Singer?
Yes, thank you. So in my experience, faculty run the business of the business, which is education. And when we start to do make these kinds of changes, it can cause some ripples, right? And so at some point, I think I'd like to hear how we're going to make sure that faculty's on board and that everybody is working towards the same goals. And that's only my experience is that it can shake things up. And how are we going to address that if it does? Because that speaks to how we implement this and our effectiveness at implementation. So at some point, I'd like to hear more about how that's coming and what our plan is to make sure it continues to move forward.
The campus, the academic deans and I would be happy to share our collaborations with you. The good news is, for the most part, we're not getting a lot of resistance. There are a couple of faculty members who hate the idea, but that's not been our experience with the people we're working closely with this year.
Good to know. Thank you.
And the nice thing is, I hope, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just saying this.
I was just going to share too that as we go, there will be times too with that connection and collaboration with faculty council, because that's an area for them to raise concerns. We meet with them. There might be times President Kuzma, I guess I can call Chair Dr. Kuzma, will be able to share some updates on their view of working with the people like CTL and Danette and also their instructional deans on this continued improvement area. So we continue to monitor that and work through it and work with them. So I think we'll be able to provide those reports from a couple different avenues, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's great. And because this is a very important step in the curriculum development process. It's almost the most important step. And so I'm excited to see you work in this area. Thank you.
And I'll just interject already, like we said, we started with the curriculum enhancements and pushing in and being invited in. I guess I should really phrase it as being invited into a variety of departments to already talk about how can we revise your outcomes so that we are ensuring that we have really strong program outcomes for our students.
Great, thank you.
Looks like you have a good team. I think I remember when Abigail joined us and introduced herself as a new employee, and I don't think I've met you before. So how long have you been with us?
I was previously math faculty for about 3 years, and then back in June came on board with the Center for Teaching and Learning and have been doing the educational developer role since then and really enjoying it, learning a lot. So happy to be here.
And Andrea is new to the group this year, is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm happy to do full circle. I started beginning my bachelor's degree here at MCC, and now being able to contribute back to the community in this way and the community college is an honor. So thank you.
Do you walk to work?
I should. Maybe as the weather has cooled, maybe I will start more often. Right now, no. in the hot heat, I have not been walking to work, but I could.
Just teasing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Danette. As always, you never disappoint with your reports, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Maybe we could have a break. What time?
Yeah, we can have a break for policy monitoring.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yep, it's been an hour and we can stand up and move around a little bit. And then we'll hear from that anyway. Thanks.
5 minutes?
Sure.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Now we're number 3. We're going to start back up. I think. You ready?
Sure. Madam Chair, we do have Policy Monitoring Report 4.060. Dr. Culver will be providing an overview of that and explain Natalie's absence and as well as the strategic plan with Kaylin. And so we have a couple things that dovetail very well together. So Dr. Culver.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Klivestein. Natalie Gebicki, I'm not her. You could probably know that by me standing up here. But anyway, she was called to jury duty on Wednesday and was selected. And so she's still there today. We were hoping it would finish yesterday and she could come and give this wonderful presentation that she wrote. Yeah, and I'm a reasonable substitute. So we will give you the same information that she was planning on giving you. But if you know Natalie, she's got all the warm fuzzies that just makes you feel like, oh, you know, all the warm fuzzy feeling. So this is policy 4.060, which is academic and career advising. And I believe these are all in one of your appendices. And so the policy states the college provides timely and effective academic advising and career advising programs for all students. And so one of the things that we have done in this presentation, that Natalie has done in this presentation, is she's developed 3 different situations a student might be in to kind of show just exactly how the timely and effective advising part of the policy comes into play. And so we first have Kaylee. Kaylee's a brand new student. So what happens, Kaylee and his team does all the wonderful work they do with admissions and in getting all the paperwork we need and admitting the student, getting ready for enrollment. And once all of that information is done, then Kaylee is able to meet with an advisor. Well, how does Kaylee even know? Kaylee is put into, we don't call it this externally, but it is a queue. It is an advising queue that as soon as the student is admitted, the day after, or sometimes 2 days, but within a day usually, the student is put into the advising queue. That's when Natalie's team picks up and Natalie's team says, oh, Kaylee's in my queue. Kaylee is ready for me to reach out to talk with, to talk about all of the things you see in the on the PowerPoint slide, to talk to her about course placement. What does she think she wants to do? Is she planning on transferring? What about financial aid? Does she need help with applying for financial aid? And this very first visit for a brand new student is very comprehensive. And it's very, let's make sure we can get the student situated correctly so we can make sure that Kaylee, in this instance, has everything she needs in order to start out in a successful manner. You also see there in the bottom rectangle, Kaylee registers for classes in self-service. That is an internal term. It is a colleague term. It is a computer term, which just we all call self-service. But it pretty much is, Kaylee can log in and do her own registration once the conversation is had with the advisor about what her first semester is going to look like. Is it an 8-week, couple of 8-week sessions? It is a full 16? Is it a combination of 12 and 8? What is it that works for Kaylee's life? And so, while Kaylee can log in and register in self-service, if the help of an advisor is needed, the advisor is still there. Many a times they'll sit there with them and the student has finished the advising appointment and they log in and let them do it right there in case there are any problems that they might have. So that's Kaylee, that's a new student. If you have questions as we go, just please, or you can hold them to the end. And then we have Chris is a continuing student. Chris has been around for a while. Chris has low grades. So faculty member says, hey, it's time for you to get registered. You know, faculty are doing a lot of advising informally and formally. And so the faculty member might say, Chris, it's time for you to register for your next set of classes, whatever that might be. However, there's a couple of things with Chris we need to pay more attention to because Chris has low grades. So we have to ask the question, how does this impact financial aid, perhaps, or will it? Is Chris to that point where they are almost ready to get, I call it, sorry, Lisa, sorry, Corey, sapping them, which is satisfactory academic progress? which is a federal reg that says if you don't have satisfactory academic progress, then you can't continue. So our advisors work with students who might be put on SAP or who might be wanting to make an appeal because they were put on SAP. And they have the capability of writing an appeal, and our advisors work with them along with financial aid office and success coaches and other people. But it really is about, let's get you resituated. Let's get you back on a pathway that you are going to be most successful with. So again, after Chris has the conversation with our success coaching team, because sometimes those appeals include, you have to see a success coach to get back on track, right? The advisor's helping with the curricular part of it, making sure the student is in the right set of classes. And then the success coaching team, financial aid office, it's really a team approach to try to help Chris get back on the right path. So that's what, when we look at effective and timely, these are situations which really show that effectiveness and timeliness. Then we have a graduating student. This is a student who says, I think I'm ready to go. I'm ready to graduate. So Sophia says, you know what? I want to go make an advising appointment and talk with my advisor. Sophia might have been self-registering along the way, and she thinks she's ready to graduate. And then, so it's this milestone advising is what we call it. Sophia's at a milestone, and it's time for her to determine how much more, how many more semesters, how many more courses. Is there a transfer in Sophia's future? Maybe Sophia is interested in transferring to another school. So the advisor has those kinds of conversations. Sophia is also a first-generation student. 77% of our students are first-generation student. So our advisors take that into account. We try not to speak the acronym language of higher education when we're talking to our first generation students. Just like I hope you've noticed that we've not put acronyms in this presentation.
Well, perfect. For years you would notice.
Absolutely. She would applaud this one. Absolutely. And so Sophia graduates and becomes a successful alumni member, perhaps transfers, and spreads the good news and the stories about MCC. We have some challenges. It's not all strawberries and cream, right? With the new systems we've been put into place, we've had some issues with data migration and learning new systems, and it's less and less every week as we go along. And so learning curve for the staff and the new systems has been a little bit of a challenge, not so much anymore. We do have peak registration times. Students don't all trickle in. A lot of them come at the very last minute, right? And so sometimes it is harder to get an appointment, a timely appointment. And what we do our best. It's usually within a couple of days, usually no more than a week, but sometimes it just depends. Personnel turnover and finding qualified candidates. This is not something you just walk in and this takes many years of the art and science of academic advising to have these conversations. And we're lucky to have 12 advisors throughout all the colleges, or throughout all the campuses that have really developed this relationship building techniques. This is not about transactions. This is not about, we're completing a registration. This is about building a relationship, and our advisors do that very, very well, as well as our faculty, as well as everybody in this room. I just don't want to say advisors are the only ones that do that. Lots of people do that. Changing pathways. With the academic master plan, we got new pathways and we got changes in the curriculum, which CTL talked about a few minutes ago. And so the pathways are not necessarily all straight right now. And so something changes. If June changes something in the nursing program, that information has to get to the advisors, right? Because it can't just be in that particular instructional unit where they know. So making sure we keep them updated all the time. And something we're going to be working on, we don't have a formal career experience embedded into the curriculum other than what faculty do naturally when they talk about jobs and going out into the world of work. But we're going to start looking at developing formal career experience with a set of services and things that would actually help students have a better career experience. Some things upcoming, I won't read all these to you, but we're getting more systems, CRM, Customer Relationship Management System Advise. So the advisors will have their own tool. It's all been spreadsheets and pasted together stuff in the past. Michael from IT does a wonderful job to help them do it, but now we're going to have a tool that is specifically to help them manage advising. We are also looking at something that in our, what we're calling our Light Your Fire course or your first year experience course, we're looking at the major project in that course is going to be this educational career attainment plan. Course mapping, career mapping, transfer mapping, all in one place, because we got it here, we got it there, we got it everywhere, we got it in somebody's head. So we're going to put together or ask students to put together and produce their own educational career attainment plan. And of course, we're going to start embedding academic support in courses which have higher DFW rates. We're going to start doing nurturing campaigns the day after student is admitted until they register or tell us to leave them alone. And so our outreach plan for re-enrollment management, and of course, I already said the career experience. So that's the presentation. I would stand for any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome.
Let's check with Ashley and Diane and see if there are any questions before you sit down. No, you can stay. They might ask you where you're still sitting. Ashley, any questions, comments? We'll bounce
Sorry,
back.
I was looking for the mute button. No, I do not. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No, I think this is wonderful. I think we're, this is getting them in. And getting them, and I like the most is that you said they have to develop their own academic plan because it has to be students. It can't be
absolutely.
Can't tell down. Can't tell them what to do.
Tell them what to do.
So, good job.
Well, thank you for that, Tim. Appreciate that. Moving on, next we do have the strategic plan report and overview, which is dealing with strategy number 3, which gets into holistic approach to student success. And we have Kaylin here to provide an update. So Kaylin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Klippenstein, thank you. I have the opportunity to share the updates of strategy 3. This is a lot of work from a lot of people around the college with instruction, our academic deans, front staff. And so they have done a lot of great work behind the scenes. So first, let me share some updates. One of the main and biggest projects that we had, which has been 3 years working, is our student success dashboard. This has really been a part of our case management plan where advisors, success coaches, and our academic support can see how a student is doing in the class. With the academic or the success dashboard, we're able to see students that may be struggling before they even know they're struggling. We outreach with students that are at 80% or less with resources. We also have implemented, I want to call it kudos, but if a student is doing well, we can see or if they're struggling at first and then they do better, we can reach out to them and say, way to go, good job, keep that up, because that is exactly what we are doing with that. Success coaches, we implemented 3 years ago now. Our success coaches help students navigate. They help them realize what their barriers are and develop a path to stay on track, and really focusing on some of those life issues that may interfere with their success. We've also enhanced some communications. Sometimes we get overwhelmed with the amount of outreach we do with students, and so we have become very intentional. One of the new programs that we have is the Retention Alert System, which is a faculty-driven program. So when a faculty member realizes that a student is struggling, they'll submit a alert and the appropriate department will contact the student. This could be a financial issue. This could be an academic, maybe they need tutoring services, so we'll reach out with them. We also have our learning communities. This has been enhanced to be focused on the area of interest, so program-specific communities. where messaging goes to the student based on their area. So let's say the health professions is doing an open house. Those students that have been pre-allied health will receive the message and can go to that open house. And then we have our guided pathways. This is our online orientation, our onboarding. Again, case management is wrapped into this. Our orientation has been enhanced to be area of interest focused. So again, we have faculty and program directors attending our orientation to make that connection right at the beginning of the student's journey. And then we have the new My Mohave portal. It's a one-stop shop. It has several new features, replacing the old one. This is our embedded email. We know that students don't check their MCC email. Here it is front and center as soon as the student logs in, and any other holds. It's just a great way for the student to access their course and communicate, schedule appointments with advisors or a coach. So let's talk about some of the data. So 3.1 is our first objective, and this is to increase first-year students' credit threshold rates. So here we're looking at students that complete 48 credits or more within a 2-year period, or 24 credits within that same time frame. So the graphic represents our baseline, which is our 2017 cohort. So these are the students that have met the threshold by summer of 2018, 2019, which is the 27% for our full-time and 51% for our part-time. So the progress is our fall 2020 cohort. And you can see 28% of our full-time students have met that threshold. And then 50% of our part-time. So now we are going to look at 3.2, there we go, which is our fall to fall retention rate, or our students' persistence rate. So our goal is an 8% increase within the 5 years. And we look at the 5-year average, we're in line with our standard retention, which is a reflection in the graphic of 54% of our full-time students returned and a 39% of our part-time students returned. So if we're looking at our 2020 cohort, which returned in fall of 2021, so this is our COVID year, we retained 62% of our full-time students and 67% of our part-time students. So that it represents a 12% increase in our retention rate at returning year, which is definitely something we should celebrate.
That was COVID time too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's good, exactly. So 3.3, whoop. All right, I already messed up. 3.3, thank you. My notes are getting heavy. They hit the button for me. 3.3, looking at the same cohort. And this is the completion rates that are based on a 3-year span, or 150%. There were 87 students enrolled in this cohort, and of those, 23% completed within 3 years. And then with a 21% average over the 5-year period. And then we have 3.4, our cohort transfer out rates, which consist of our full-time, first-time credential seeking students. Oh, that's 3.5.
Oh, it reversed.
You're out of
Go one
order.
more.
No,
I think it's actually missing. Yeah.
Oh, it's missing.
okay, well, great. I'll talk about it anyway. How's that? So 3.4 is increasing transfer out rates. It's there. Okay. Of our full-time, first-time credential-seeking students who transferred for a bachelor's degree. And during the 2020 cohort, there were 87 students again in that, where only 7% transferred out. So now we should go 3.5.
Go back one from that previous slide, Keaton.
There we go.
They're
just mixed up in there. Okay, thank you. So 3.5 objective is to implement support services for the underserved populations. Here we look at 2 areas, retention and course success. Our fall to fall retention is our 21-22 students that returned in the fall 2022, and you can see them the numbers there. And our core success is counts students that have earned a C or better in their coursework. So overall, we're seeing some growth in the 3 areas of our underserved populations that we're currently tracking. So in reviewing the data measurements, we have seen some gaps. There we go. We're back on track. With some of the strategy 3 complexities, first, how did the institution define student success? And when we talked about it at length, it varies by every student. And so how as an institution are we going to track it? So we came up with persistence and progression, and then we included students that came in just to enhance or do continuing education from a career that they're already in, or maybe they're looking for a promotion. So we included upscaling and reskilling and or degree or certificate completion leading to a career and or a student that transfers. So some of the measurements that we use is through the Student Success Measurement Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System. Wow, I practiced that. Or better known as IPEDS, when you hear us talking about the data. And then we also use the Arizona Vision. And so with these items, we are currently utilizing, there's very limited, and it is very limited, and it captures a small percentage of who our students are. So some other complexities that we've ran into is our reporting cohorts only include our fall first-time students. So the second issue that we have identified is we have multiple length terms, multiple start dates, multiple add drop dates, and those all affect the numbers that we are reporting through IPEDS and through the Arizona Vision Statement. And then the third item we identified is through the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, or DEI initiatives. MCC identified the equity gaps as first generation, race, ethnicity, low income, over 25 years old, and our veteran populations. Strategy 3 is only tracking 25 or older, our Pell Grant recipients, and minority students. So there's a lot of discrepancies there with the student success that we're tracking. And then one other one to note is that we do not count dual enrollment students, even though we do offer services to dual enrollment students. So we recently had the opportunity to meet Strategy 3. 2 members had an opportunity to meet and do a midterm review, which included looking at our objectives and action items that we have implemented and how successful or what impact they have made. And during this, based on the specific cohorts and the definition, the data only tracks 13% of our student population. And in the case of 3.1 objective, we currently track 143 students, so only 13%. So by changing the cohort definition, we can track over 1,100 students, which is a much better representation of our student body. So that was a big part. So some of the changes we made, 3.1, increase fall to spring and spring to fall persistence for new students and returning students. So this gives us an opportunity to look at spring start students, first-time students, and summer, which were not calculated previously or tracked previously. The next one is 3.2, increase fall to fall retention rate for credential seeking new students. Again, the thought is if you have a new student and you're tracking them through, you are looking at their progression as they move forward. 3.3, increase program and credential completion rates of new students. Prior to this, we were only looking at degree seeking, 2-year degree seeking instead, and did not have credentials. And if somebody comes in for a certificate, they were not being tracked in these numbers. And then 3.4, that remained the same. And 3.5, which is the most substantial change, is really to align with our DEI initiatives. And we changed the verbiage to say 3.5, increase attainment outcomes for equity gap groups, which includes the low income, race, ethnicity, over 25 veterans and first gen. And we will use 3.1, 3.2, the objectives above to measure those equity gaps and the success there. So how are we going to do this? So as I mentioned, we are looking at the 4 pillars through the guided pathways, clarifying the path, entering the path, staying on a path, and of course, making sure the students are learning. So with we call it Student Success Foundations. This has been a lot of the work that we've already implemented this past 3 years, which is really clarifying the path. We have new systems in place. We have the case management teams developed through the area of interest. This was one of the hardest areas because we really had to change the culture and strengthen our culture and make sure that everybody within the institutions are on the same path or same page with the direction that we were going. This also includes other wraparound support services, including our non-credit to credit students. If they were non-credit, they didn't receive support services. Now we are looking at moving forward with that. Our diversity, equity, inclusion plan implementation and moving from Hispanic to enrolling to Hispanic serving. One of the areas that we've implemented this semester is offering tutoring in Spanish to help those students as well. And just being more efficient and effective with our scheduling overall, offering courses when the student can take them and make sure that they can take the classes they need in a timely manner. And then we're looking at our first year experience, which is entering the path. A lot of this was covered with Dr. Culver, the Light Your Fire course. This is to make sure that students are really entering a path that meets their interests, their career goals, their life goals, and make sure that we're having those conversations to get them past MCC. We are doing the intake advising model with the transition to faculty advising. And then the educational and career attainment plan. So from the minute a student picks a degree, they know what their map is, they know what the pathway is, and not just pointing it out, but actually having conversations of different opportunities beyond MCC. And then transfer mapping. And then, of course, the completion teams. I know Tim talked about this a little bit, but I'll give a little bit more detail. We are looking at the embedded academic support, and this was those have been put in motion this semester, where we have tutors embedded into the classroom, so they're front and center where the student is, and they're already building those relationships to try to eliminate that stigma of a student coming to the Success Center or going into a different room or different building that they're not familiar with to ask for help. We all know that that's a struggle. Our student success coaches, they've done some fantastic work, but we're looking at them being more proactive and engaging with our students that are on academic probation or students that are returning and may have struggled in the past. And then fostering our faculty and student relationships. And that, again, is with our faculty advising implementation. So a lot of great work, a lot of changes and exciting things happening in the future. And that is my presentation. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Okay,
Well done.
At mid-year or mid-time reports, so we're caught up with everything you wanted. Diane, any questions or comments?
No, I just love that you found where the reporting gaps are not aligned with our stats, and that you were able to blend that so that we get an accurate picture, because otherwise we're measuring ourselves against something that's not accurate. So that's a smart move.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley, anything from you?
Just thank you for the detailed presentation, and I especially appreciated how you looked at how to define student success.
Thank you, Ashley. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thanks for your time.
Madam Chair, if I may, I just want to compliment the work that Kaylin and the whole team, Strategy 3 team, of course, and backing everybody with this. I was really, really excited when, now that we're doing the mid-plan, strategic plan review, that this Strategy 3 team really did look hard at the numbers. It is very, very true. When we all sat down at President's Cabinet, we're looking at things that we were using good data at the time, but it probably wasn't the right data to where we want to be and making those adjustments. So them having the foresight and ability to recognize that is great. We're going to capture more data that's really about our students, right? Not about the Arizona Vision strategies and the 34 metrics or whatever. It's a little bit more for us. So I appreciate that. I just want to say
We use our lens, not theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lack of congruency really caught me.
I think it will help Shelley as well with the data tracking for Shelley.
James is trying to speak, right?
Yeah, Madam, if we're good to go.
Contact Gary regularly, tell my in the back of my car. Those are daddies. Thank you.
So I just wanted to make sure we're okay.
I don't know. I just knew about the time. I had to tell her something right away.
Yeah, no worries. So moving forward now, Madam Chair, in the materials, we did want to bring up and mention real quick with James and Shelley's help, the economic impact study that was finalized. We're trying to get out there and start to make it public. This is just part of AC 14, so the Arizona Community College Coordinating Council, presidents and chancellors, about once every 4 or 5 years. There's enough money in our reserve balance that we work with. Well, in the past, it was Economic Modeling Systems International, but now it's Lightcast, and contracted with them to perform a statewide 10-district economic impact study. And then also each of the districts get their own. So this will be our own. But just to let you know, there is some really good positives on both the statewide as well as ours. The statewide, it shows that we community colleges offer about a $13.2 billion benefit back to using the various different, very solid, reliable metrics that Lightcast use across the nation. And to be able to say that when you look at, and I'll just say this publicly, when you look at Arizona Board of Regents' most recent update on their economic impact, we're almost 9 times better when it comes to Arizona and economic impact from an educational perspective than the 3 universities. And so we're very, very proud of that. We have to start shouting that out a little bit better. And that's what's going to happen with our upcoming visit with the governor, hopefully during the legislative session. So why I wanted to say that is that's why we try to build these things every 3 or 4 or 5 years to have this type of story. So I'll pass it off to James about the MCC story.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thanks to Shelley. And if you have any questions about the data, Shelley is here. She can answer those questions. And if if you have questions that go too deep, we can put you in touch. We'll get the answers from Lightcast if you have any questions regarding the data. But the great, yeah.
Sorry, we also, a gentleman named Gavin is our contact with Lightcast, and he actually went through this with the president's cabinet so we can all have a broader understanding of what the data was.
Yeah.
So they have been very, very great to work with.
And my office has the easy job because we get to take their information. And then our mantra always in the office is clear, concise, and compelling. So what you have in front of you on your desk and on the screen right here is the trifold. And this is great. This is just one of the marketing collateral that we have that we can help share this story out there with the community. And you as board members can take this out there and share with your constituents as well. And if they read this and they want a little bit more information when they start looking into this, they can go to the Mohave website at mohave.edu/improving lives, which is this page here, which is where they can view this, they can download it. The good thing about this that we really like to highlight is for every $1 invested, a student gets $6 back. So, and the community itself, for every $1 gets $5.80 back. So for the community, which are our largest stakeholders, obviously the property taxpayers, they're paying the bills, right? Along with the students, 60% of our funding comes from property taxes. So this is really great information to share with them. And you can see as you read through it, you'll see the impact of the alumni that still work out here, that work in the county. And one of the highlights I like too, and we added this in there, we went through a few different renditions of this to try to get a compact, concise story just into this trifold. But 1 out of every 29 jobs in the county is supported by the efforts of the college. And that doesn't mean college employees. That means
jobs that are supported because of the college. So one out of it, without the college here, that is a big loss to the community. Now, if they go to this website, which we're updating right now, this just came out. So really, these are hot off the presses right now. If you go to the website, you'll see on the right-hand side over here, under downloadable documents, and this is something they can share with everybody in the community, your constituents as well. They can download this flyer themselves, and they can also pull up any of the, the fact sheet, the executive summary, the full report if they'd like. They can view all of that and download it as well. And this goes into much more detail if they want to do that. So really it's a three-pronged approach with this flyer. You get the flyer, and you want a little bit more information. Let me go to the website. I can read a little bit more. Then if I want more information beyond what's on that page, I can go ahead and click on it and read the full report myself. And then what we'll do is we'll continue using this information throughout the next several years until the next report comes out to share the value of the community or value of the college with the community. Any questions about it?
How's it being distributed, James, other than you're wanting the Board of Governors or the trustees to take them to their dentist
You
office?
guys are the ones that are doing it. So we're going to get, we're going to
That's what I mean. What are you doing? I leave them at the dentist office. That's about my.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So what we do is we use the information from this in different marketing collateral that we'll put together, different messages. So one of the things that we're just creating right now that'll be coming out next week is our enrollment window opens up for spring next Monday. So the enrollment campaign is going to start, and our office worked with a recruitment office, and we talked about the value. And so the tagline is going to be invest in yourself. And it's going to include some of this information. And that information will be put out there throughout the year, talking about some of these highlights. We also have Dr. Klippenstein will have his op-ed that comes out. We'll use it there. We're going to have a news release once we get more of the information and analyze it a little bit more. We're going to put a news release out there about the value of the college. So really it's going to be continuously coming out to direct people back to the Improving Lives page, which on the page too, which we're going to update. But you will also see a lot of the alumni, which we have, the alumni here. This needs to be updated. Brian Williamson is the.
I've been gone several years.
Yeah. And so we have the Lake Havasu City Police Chief now, who is an alumni. He'll replace him. But when you click on this here, it also shows you in their own words, the alumni and the current students who share their experiences at Mohave Community College and the value that they've found from the college that's helped them throughout their lives. So here's Chief Troy Sterling there. But it's such a great page. And what you'll notice is we really came out with this a few years ago when we first got the study back, right? That was about 2017, 2018. We created this and really pushed it out there. Well, then as we hit the pandemic, everything kind of slowed down. So now that we have the new information, you're going to see this page a lot more.
Okay. And you're taking this brochure door to door yourself, and are you?
We're going to Walmart, putting it on the windows.
Come on, James.
But no, it'll be mixed in. All of the facts will be mixed in with an overall campaign that directs people back to this page to get more information, but expresses the value. So it really is about the value that the college brings. That's why I say my job is so easy, because the college has such value that it's not hard to let people know, hey, this is a great place. This brings value not only to the students and the graduates, but to the communities as well.
Thank you, James. This is what I was asking about when we were in Prescott that time, and I couldn't remember the name of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? I'm sorry, comments? I don't. Questions, Ashley? I'm sorry, I should have asked.
I did, thank you. And I didn't know about the additional fact sheet, so I'll go on the website and look at those. That's great. When I looked at the full report, it's really nicely done. Quite a bit of
text, but it's still good information. But the conclusion page, it's one page and there's a call out of one data point, which is that 1 out of every 29 jobs in Mohave County is supported by MCC. And I just wondered, of all the information on the economic impact, why that particular data point was pulled out. Is that, so I'll leave it there. I just wondered why that was highlighted at the end of it all.
Yeah, you're talking about the trifold or in the actual economic impact report?
The actual report. I saw that on the trifold, it's a tiny mention on the bottom right corner, yet in the full report, it's the main conclusion statement. So I'm curious about that. It's page 56.
Yeah, so what we do, so with the trifold, what we do is we try to get the most relevant information that's going to resonate with people. And that 1 out of 29 jobs in the county supported, that was one that we saw as well, and we wanted to include in here, but the others were so impactful and we've used in the past that really resonate with folks, that those are the ones that we highlighted. But we did notice the 1 out of every 29 jobs and wanted to put that in there. So the 1 out of 29 jobs is actually, this is, as I mentioned, the trifold's just one piece of marketing collateral. So that factoid is you're going to see that more often as well as the other factoids. So we consider it, when we look at it, it's when you're looking to create something that's clear, concise, and compelling. As you probably know, the human attention span now is less than 8 seconds. So we couldn't put all of it in the one flyer, but we tried to get the highlights in that flyer. Does that make sense?
It does make sense for the flyer. For me, when I saw the conclusion page and saw this one call out, that tells me that that's the main point that
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Conclusion we've made with all this information, and I just wondered if that's the case.
Yeah, this was put together by Lightcast, and I think this was their situation here was to try to point that out because it is important. But there's so much other information in there that trying to express the entire report. I think that they did the same thing we did, which was they realized that was big. They wanted to highlight it, but there was so much other community and alumni and student impact that took precedence over that. So it was really more of an example.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Diane?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Right.
I will say though, your voice, and I connected to the Mohave Minute.
Radio was not right.
He looks better on video. On radio, maybe I should say that.
Thanks for radio.
Madam Chair, just one other point with this is the AC4 group next week during our meeting is actually meeting with Gavin from Lightcast to look at the statewide data. Once that's reviewed, confirmed, that will also be going out through the AC4 website. So there'll be more information, probably a joint op-ed between I don't know if it'll be from me as the chair of AC4, but it will be from AC4 through our lobbyists and stuff. We'll probably throw something out there. Some marketing materials as well will be going out. So.
Yeah, and that's a good point to throw out there as well. The state, this is part of a statewide report. Thanks to the CEOs from all the 10 districts, they put this out, they seek this out, so they would get this information, right? So there's a full statewide report, and then each district has its own report. And thanks to Stacy, we got the information and started working on it right away. I was just in a meeting with my counterparts from the other districts on Monday. A lot of them haven't even seen their own reports. So we're really far ahead of the game as far as getting our message out there. After all the community college CEOs meet and the groups that I'm with meet, there'll be a full statewide message out there put on the Arizona Community College's website. And then we will align our messaging with theirs as well. But of course, locally, we're pushing our message out there because we've already read it. We know what it is.
It helps to have Paul with the president of the state.
That's it. That's true. That's just true. Yes, and since Stacy is the chair of the AC4, I think that maybe there's a little bit more pressure on us to get our word out there first.
Yes.
It works. Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, James.
Madam Chair, just a few other updates from my end. The deans stole my thunder, but it's their thunder, actually. The Pumpkin Fest activities, I was going to share, a great job. Yeah, last year, record numbers, and I'm sure we'll have that again. I also wanted to just recognize a few folks from James to Dr. Culver to Sean Bristol, and a few others who really helped with our CAC. So we have been conducting our Community Advisory Council meetings, and we've had over, I think I counted 52, I might be off a few, but around 52 local leaders of the 3 southern campuses have already met and looked at the mid-year kind of strategic plan. We walked them through to collect feedback, as well as James has started the look at our branding and ran a little survey and talked to the groups just to get a feel of how people view us, the relevancy, and what's that message out. So James started that process through the CACs, and we finish up one, I think it's next week, with North Mohave. We hope to have about 60 to 70 individuals that we would have talked to about both the mid-year plan, strategic plan, as well as the branding. So we're excited for that. We have student listening sessions coming up, as well as employee listening sessions. And we'll gather some continued feedback from that. I said earlier, November 1st is when the AC4 team will be meeting with the governor and talking about the one pager that was mentioned earlier through Ashley, and legislative priorities for the upcoming year, and 2 and 3, actually, because the governor wants to see where we want to be with future initiatives for the next 3 years. And also the governor will be in town. We're going to hopefully get some scheduling wrapped up to meet with her individually, or have her come to campus. But she's trying to be in town for a ribbon cutting here in Kingman, or up in Kingman, on November 14th. So we're just working through that. If there's an opportunity for us to meet with her individually and talk about some of the good work we're doing, again, we'll be able to share the economic impact and do all that with the governor's office and the governor herself. So
what's the ribbon cutting?
I think it's with WeCom up in Kingman, out at the industrial park.
Oh,
it's dealing with broadband, and since she helps support broadband, ACA as well supports broadband. So that concludes my president's report, and I'll stand for any questions. If not, we can move to the administrative division's report.
Any questions, ladies? Ashley, no? Okay. Ready to move on. Thank you.
Yeah, so we have financial aid update. Yay. Lisa is here, so to provide some information. So thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Lisa Downey. I'm the Director of Financial Aid. And this is Corey Valencia, our manager in financial aid. I'm going to take a minute to talk about default management, resuming repayment, and FAFSA simplification. These are the 3 things we're going to talk about real quick. I included these definitions just so that the board members could understand exactly what is the definitions of the terms for the default. So a default is when a student quits making payments on a loan for a specific period of time. It's about 1 year, depending on the type of loan, before it defaults. If it's the old loans, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to have to say an acronym because I can't remember what each letter stands for, but it's the FELP. And then the new ones are the direct loans that come from the Department of Ed. The FELP loans had a shorter time frame that they would default than what the new direct loans do. So there is a difference in those. The cohort period, it's a 3-year period that they're monitored, but the cohort itself is determined by all the borrowers that go into repayment during a 1-year time frame. And that time frame is October 1st to September 30th of the following year. That also is the federal fiscal year. So that's why that time frame is chosen. And then they're monitored for another 2 years after that initial year of going into repayment. And that default number is used technically against us. And then the cohort default period, which starts the repayment. Next, please.
Default management. We partner with a company called ECMC Solutions. We have been since about 2012 or 2013. These are the things that they do for us. They're a third-party partner, so we do have to report them to the Department of Ed on our participation agreement. But they do these specific things for us, and then they help us develop a plan on our side of what we're doing to help them, because we want our students to know who they are. Next, please. This is a slide that I included just so you could see the default time periods. So the cohort is determined by the first two black lines of any horizontal row. And then the next two periods are the continuing of the monitoring period. Now this one is also a slide that ECMC provided to us right around the time that COVID started. They do expect, and it's a national thing, that our default rate is going to increase because of the COVID forbearance that was going on. They have seen nationally that, and it's not just ECMC, it is the federal government, that there is an increase in defaults whenever there is an issue or some kind of emergency that happens, like a hurricane, forest fires, those kinds of things. The default rate will increase in that region that issue happened. Next, please. This is just to give you some historical context, ECMC's default rate and how we have done things to bring it down and maintain it lower. For 2020, it is 0. That is, I'm going to be honest, not our efforts. It's because of the payment pause that happened.
You didn't have to tell us.
Okay. And then 2020, 2021, we expect to be either the same or just a little bit up. But it's not going to increase at this point in time. We need to start monitoring 2022 is where it may increase. Next, please. These are MCC's default management efforts. ECMC does say that we are the gold standard that they present to other community colleges because we do all of these things, and most of these things we came up with on our own instead of asking them, hey, what can we do? They do provide us with a program called Loan Tracker. It's a database of all of our students that are in repayment. And we have access to be able to pull reports out of there so we can target specific groups in the, not in the default, but in the delinquency stages to try to ward that off.
What's a tube mailer?
It's those round tubes like this that you can purchase and you open up an end and you can put letters in there, information. And we usually go to OCC and get some pens because they rattle and they're more willing to open them up.
Ooh,
yeah.
Mail me one.
We have a 30%. With those go out to the delinquent of the delinquent, the ones that are getting ready to default. And we have a 30% success rate of people opening those up and doing something to not go into default. So that's why we use it. ECMC did do it once for us, but it was a little pricey, and we can do it on our own much cheaper. Next, please. Fresh Start. This was a program that the government instituted to help students who are currently in default and not eligible for federal aid and or have a Pell Grant overpayment that they owe, because those students aren't eligible for aid either. But it was a way to get them during COVID, this is only during COVID, get them going back to school and finishing their higher education so that hopefully they could become successfully and gainfully employed afterwards. Next. Payment begin repayment date. So the forbearance has ended. The national emergency of COVID ended on April 10th. The student loan forbearance ended on August 31st. Students are starting to go into repayment as of October 1.
We did some processes starting in July, which I think are on the next slide, please. No, it isn't. Okay, I'm sorry. We did some processes during that time where we sent out emails and postcards to the borrowers. The very first one, we targeted 2016 to 2024. And then we've cut it down to 22, 24 since then on the others. But we have had a 40%, above a 40% actually, success rate of students opening those emails where we're talking to them about, hey, you're going to start repayments. And then, and that's been for each one, although as we went down, because we'd started in July, we've done it August, September, and we did the last one last week or this week, it has slowed down a little bit. But there's also in those emails, we have given them webinars to attend that were put on by ECMC and the different servicers about repayment. And we were also giving them a link to ECMC to be able to call and talk to them about setting up their repayment plans for this, the beginning. And we had about a 30% click rate to go through to ECMC to do that. So it's been pretty good for us. Next, please. These are the repayment plans that are based on income. Pay and Save are the new ones by the federal government. I will tell you, I'm not exactly sure what the pay one is because I have not kept up on the new ones. There's been a lot of controversy among people for those. The Save, though, if you please go to the next slide, Saving on a Valuable Education Plan. And each plan, the difference is how much of the discretionary income is used to determine what the payment's going to be, is really what it's about. And these are the specifics of the Save plan. But I'm not going to go into that in detail. Next, please. And then this is what the federal student government or the federal student aid, U.S. Department of Education has done to get the loan repayment notification out. They have been sending emails to students when they have, or borrowers when they have their email address, but they've made a page on their webpage where they talk about going into repayment. So we've been trying to be a little more proactive about that. Yes, ma'am. So the payment can be adjusted, but the balance due remains the balance due. Correct. Okay. Correct. And the different repayments, not only are they the ones that are income-based use discretionary income, but it also sometimes does have a period of time. So some may have a shorter period of time and then it's forgiven. Some may have a longer period of time and then it's forgiven. The longer period of time is usually the highest discretionary income that's determined for the payment.
And the interest rate can continue to go up. It doesn't necessarily.
The interest rate is variable and it is determined by, I want to say the prime rate, but I'm not sure it's prime.
And we explain all this to students because this is complicated. I mean,
honestly, we do not. That's why we refer them to ECMC because
okay, well,
it is so complicated.
We offer
yes.
them a way to somebody to explain it to them.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
And we do help them through that transition into ECMC. We just don't give them the information and say, this is it. We will get them over there and get them started in the correct conversation too.
Thank you.
Oh, this is where I talked about our efforts on the repayment notifications, where we sent the emails and the postcards. We also did social media for this. We use OCC for that. And then ECMC and various lenders use those webinars. Next, please. FAFSA simplification. One thing in the FAFSA simplification, this was the FAFSA Simplification Act, which passed on December in 2020. It was part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021. But Congress had to go back to the board and do some things because what they did in that initial law contradicted other laws that were in place. And so they had to go back and redo some other ones. So another one came about called Fostering Undergraduate Talent by Unlocking Resources for Education, known as the Future Act. And there were a couple others that they did too. But the main thing is, or one of the main things, now, when a student fills out a FAFSA, all parties that are going to contribute income information, the student's spouse, a student's parent or parents, or a student's step-parent, all have to consent to their income tax information being put on that FAFSA, okay? That same consent form that the student and or the student's spouse signs gives the department authority to also use that tax information in the repayment plans. So if a student does this and then they go into repayment, they can still take that data from IRS and determine those repayments, okay? Others are the expected family contribution is going to change to the student aid index. The expected family contribution was a dollar figure that the department would use income information to determine how much a family's resources could be put forth towards a student's education. The student aid index is actually going to tell us what programs they qualified for, and then we have to use that student aid index to determine what the dollar amount is. If it is a negative number, and it can be negative, the expected family contribution could never be a negative number. You can't go lower than 0. But the student aid index can be a negative, and those are the students that will qualify for full Pell. They do expect this to enable more students to get more aid. Okay. And then I already told you about the federal tax information. There is going to be strict limitations on the institutions as far as guarding that information. And so that's some of the law changes that happened about security we have to watch for. And we can only have specific people in the institution have access to that information. There's a reduction in untaxed income items that are going to be used on the FAFSA. And there's a change in the allowances that they use against the income, such as child support and combat pay. Asset components are changing a little bit, but the main ones that they're going to keep are child support received, and then estimated student assistance is actually going to be counted on the parents' portion. This FAFSA simplification process is going to change to where the parents have a bigger weight on their income as to what resources they contribute to the student's education, versus in the past, it was the student's income that was weighed the most heavy. The family size is changing to meet the same definition as the income tax. In the past, we had 2 different definitions, so we'd have a student tell us that, well, they were dependent on my taxes, but they can't be a dependent in your household for FAFSA, but now they will be. It will take that information, and that's what we use for the family size. And then this is just to give you an idea of what the calculation is. In the past, Pell would be awarded based on class load, which would be less than half-time, half-time, 3/4 time, and full-time. Now it will actually be a percentage of 12 credits, which 12 credits is what they consider full-time. That has never changed. But in this example, you see the formula, and then 7 credits would get 58% of the Pell Award. Next, please.
And that's new, that concept is new, right?
Yes, it is new. That is huge.
Yeah.
And then the number of questions has changed. So in the old one, there would be approximately 68 questions for an independent student, 103 for a dependent. The reason for the difference was the family information that's added to that. Now there's a total of 54 questions, but a student shouldn't see more than 49, no matter what their classification is. We are also required to report federal work study wages, which we were never required to in the past. So we have to look at a calendar year of a student that was a work study student and report those wages for that calendar year. We are beginning with 2020. So we have to have the 2020 wages reported by December, and then that will be included in the FAFSA that we get this next year.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Corey, any questions from Corey? Any comments?
No, I'm just here for moral support.
You did a good job of providing that because you did a fine job, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa and Corey. Well, I was just going to turn to Shirley and ask her to get that air conditioner turned off, and it went off, so it's not gonna come back on, is it? If it does, we're gonna have a turn to Miss Curley. Maybe she's got a magic plans. We're gonna get rid of that.
It is not locked. Anybody can walk up to it and change.
Okay, well, I wouldn't have known that, Amy, because usually
No,
somebody
Gary
comes in the
told me
room.
this morning he removed the codes for.
Oh,
this.
okay, well, that's certainly different than what we've experienced, so that's why I'm returning you, but I won't. Sorry. All right, are we ready? Jenny?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Klippenstein, I am pleased to be here today to bring forth the final work product of a process that has taken more than a year that all of us have been involved in to produce a facilities master plan. Facilities master plan came forth out of strategy 4.6, objective 6. That specifically states that we wanted to develop college-wide facilities master plan that emphasizes design of ideal learning and working environments, sustainability and conservation practices, and capital resource stewardship. Over the last year, DLR Group has met with administration, with the board, with community partners, and with employee groups in order to pull all of this information together. We are pleased to present their final work product. Just as a reminder, this facilities master plan is not set in stone. It is designed to be dynamic and changeable based on the situations and environments that Mohave Community College finds itself in, and that individual projects, building projects, rental projects will be brought to the board one by one for discussion and approval as we are ready to move forth with it. However, accepting this plan as a guideline of sorts to use in the future allows administration to start that year zero planning, figuring out the kind of the criteria and prioritization so that we can start creating a multi-year action plan in order to accomplish some of the things that are in this report. I stand for any questions.
All right, it was a good thorough report online. We had the access in our appendix. Questions, Diana?
No, I'm good. I feel like we're very well informed on this as we've been participating in this since for about a year.
Question, Ashley, any questions before we go for a motion?
I do have a question about the motion, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Just based on, I fully support, I can't recall exactly what words Jenny just used, but basically this being a starting point and a livable document. I just want to make sure the suggested in their recommendation, is that wording appropriate to capture that piece of it?
Well, keep in mind that this is just one way to word it. So if you're interested in making a motion, you can word it however you want. They recommend, the administration recommends we support this, but in whatever context you want to place it. The motion is always dynamic and fluid and open to board statement. So it's up to one of the two of you to make a statement or put the verb in that you want, however you'd like it to be. That's not a motion. You'll see the motion's blank.
So I can move it if you want. So I'd like to move that we accept the working facilities master plan as presented in the guiding document for current and future facility improvements. The operative term there, working, meaning it's something that it's dynamic.
Is that?
I'll second that.
You will, okay. Then. Any further questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know it has been a long process, and I do appreciate first, your patience throughout the process. We've been patient as well, back and forth with various different things, but also very, very excited for the work that we were able to finally get done with the DLR. And they did a great job at in working through many of the items with us and just getting the survey results of 372 individuals, which they said they normally don't get even at universities, get that high amount. So a lot of really good feedback. And this really does help us now set the stage for that, as you said, working as a good working document now as we move forward. So our goal this upcoming spring is to be able to bring some ideas that we have kind of prioritized through a process that Jenny developed with the collecting the right information, the right format, bringing it to the board, having some good dialogue there about future of the next set of facilities, so to speak. And so we'll be able to use this in year 0 to start that planning. So we're excited for that. So thank you very, very, very much. And Madam Chair, I think we're on to the next. Is that correct? That is on room rates. Yeah. So we'll pass it off to Tremaine for that document.
Madam Chair, hello. Madam Chair, members of the board, it's my pleasure to bring to you something very exciting for us, the establishment of room rates for the first time in the College District. As you might have noticed, we are moving ground and things happening out there, which is very exciting. I know Dean Cooper has gone into several classrooms nearby just to remind students that this is what's happening. There's no earthquakes, there's no nothing. We're just making progress for the campus. But one of the first things we need to do in our actions is to establish these room rates. We're very pleased that we believe we brought forth the proposal for the 24-25 school year with a very comparable rate based on the type of housing that we have. There are some comparison rates provided for you in your packet. As you might have noticed, what we offer is basic just room only situation. We don't offer meal plans at this time, whereas a number of the colleges in the state do. And so you might notice those are listed there, and we provide that just to provide the context, and that the established room rate of $32.50 per semester is might be a little bit higher than some of the others that are listed, but we do have to recognize that a lot of the colleges in the state have older facilities. They've been paid off, so they're able to have some lower rates, and a lot of colleges are making most of their buck off the meal plans. So that's not something that which are required for all the students to pay. So we don't have that. Our apartment style is unique in that they do offer full kitchens and all amenities and utilities included in that. And compared to the local rates in Bullhead City for one bedroom apartment, it's a very nice,
If there's any available.
right, if there's any available. This is a very nice rate. So we've established that at $32.50 a semester. All students will be required to pay that. And then there are some associated fees that go along with housing that are listed as well, including an administrative fee, damage deposits, some other things like a parking fee, and some educational sanction fees, just in case students get into trouble. We have some nice online programming for them to mend their ways. So that'll help us in overhead and things like that. But I'm open to any questions that you might have based on what's been presented. But we do recommend the rates as presented to you in your packet.
All right, we'll go to Diane and then Ashley.
Yeah, so
Diane?
on the documentation that's in our packet, it doesn't say furnished, and I know it says it in the agenda.
And it is furnished.
Should we mention that in this document in terms of the official record, or is this suffice? Because the word furnished doesn't appear on the handout in the document, and I don't know if that's an important point legally or not as it relates to the rate.
Legally, it wouldn't be as important because the rates will be officially established by the board, but all the communication that we provide to students will include that the apartments are furnished.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, that's presented here. All righty, Ashley, any questions?
I do have a couple of questions. First is, I understand where the rate falls compared with the other colleges and universities, and then with the local average rate. And so we're in the middle there, under the local average and over the others. What other information did you use to come up with this amount?
So there's a number of things that we were looking at, but part of our pro forma that we established, we have to make it economical for the students, but also it has to sort of benefit the bottom line as well. So we need to be able to pay our own bills, with this being sort of a self-sustaining program as much as possible. So everything is sort of involved in that, looking at the projected utilities cost and price of, furniture and appliances, and all of that is sort of included. So I don't remember the exact amount of annual sort of revenue that we would gain, but when we were establishing a rate, all of that is sort of calculated to give us a return on investment, but also provide the most economical situation that we can for students based on the amenities that they're going to receive.
And thank you. That's fair. And did you, how does this compare to the average rates in our other areas? I believe our target.
The other communities, you mean them both?
Exactly, yeah, because I believe Bullhead isn't our target for students. For the student housing, sorry.
Right. For Kingman, it's a little bit higher. Havasu is actually right there along with it, if not just a little bit lower. The average rates in Kingman are about a few hundred less for a comparable apartment. And Havasu's maybe like $50, $100 more actually.
Okay, so no extreme
You're talking like the one
differences.
Right.
Okay.
And never mind the availability of any of them.
That part.
Okay, one more question for you. Regarding the staff person that will be living there as well, what are their fees?
The staff person that lives on typically does not pay any sort of rent or anything. It's sort of included in the package. And it's understood that part of your work assignment is to live on campus. So they typically receive their apartment in
Their compensation package.
a part of the compensation package. It's not necessarily free. We never want to say free when working in res life housing because you are paying for it, definitely. But they don't necessarily pay any fees back to the college.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. I have no questions. I know you put a lot of work into getting this ready, and that's not my arena. I just pay my own bills and I'm glad to be able to do it. All right, we're looking for a motion from one of the two of you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll move that the board recommend approving the 2024-25 housing rate of $32.50 per semester and other related fees as presented today.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion second. Any further questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
3-0. Thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you very, very much for that. That's just one of the many steps to continue to move this process forward. And I do want to echo and say again, I think very much the work that Tremaine and Gary and others have put into analyzing this and trying to come up with the best plan. And I really do feel like the other thing too is I know Tremaine and I have talked about it. Camilo was in the room. He might be around here somewhere. We know that November 1st is the signing period. That's when things can begin. And we talked almost a year ago, 6 months ago, about what would be the date we need to have room rates ready for marketing materials, contract, and be able to tell parents as well. And so we're excited to have this approved now. So November 1st, we can really kick it off by they have some confirmed numbers. So timing wise, it worked out perfect. So thank you all.
Good. That worked, that's for sure. So for our executive session, are we going to another room? What is the plan here? 509. All right, thank you very much. Let's go.
We need a motion to go to executive session.
Oh, yeah.
I move that we
there's
go
that
to
board.
executive session.
Thank you. And in fact, the motion's written for us. The other two weren't. That's what threw me off. Motion to hold. You got to read this.
Okay, I move to hold an executive session for the purpose of discussing 3-431.03 critical infrastructure information, the Graham Leach Bliley Act.
All right. Ashley, do you want to?
Second,
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
I.
All right. 509.